Alright, Chapter 20, Dynamic Brakes. You will learn in this chapter what are dynamic brake parameters, action, dynamic blocks, and constraints. Introduction to dynamic blocks. All we know until now is the Autocad can provide a facility to create and insert of the block with one shape dimension that can be scaled to bigger or smaller, but the Autocad provides more than this concerning blocks. It provides the possibility to create a block with multiple shapes, multiple sizes, multiple views. This type of block is called a dynamic block. Can be created in block editor. Dynamic blocks will use the parameters and actions. Actions are very similar to Autocad modifying commands such as stretch, scale, and array. Each action needs a parameter to work on. Another method is to create the dynamic block using geometric dimensional constraints discussed in Chapter 19. In order to differentiate between the normal block, dynamic blocks will always have a lightning symbol to the right where you are inserting a command dialog box or a tool palette. Or here are some examples. The dynamic block symbol shows the lightning symbol. Alright, dynamic blocks are very handy tools to help finish drawing production faster with less mistakes, reducing the number of blocks to work with. 2022 methods to create a dynamic block. Dynamic blocks are made with the block editor. To see how you can reach the block editor, there are multiple ways to do this. By using the open in block editor checkbox block definition dialog box, by double clicking existing block, then selecting the name of the block, and by issuing the block editor command. Using the block definition dialog box. In general, when you create a normal block, you will see with the block definition dialog box is the following. Simply click with the open block editor checkbox, then click OK. Autocad will take the direct view of the block editor. You can add some of the dynamic features to your normal block. Double clicking an existing block. You convert normal and edit block definition. You convert existing normal block dynamic, double clicking it, and you'll see the following dialog box: edit block definition. Autocad will show you the blocks of the current drawing. Select the block by the double clicking. Simply click OK directly to the block editor to access the desired feature. Block editor command. To issue the command, go to insert in block definition panel, then select block editor. Following dialog box will come up. Block creator. To type the name of the block or select the new name of the existing block. You can do things with the dialog box. Type the name of the new block. Select the name of the one existing block to convert or edit. Inside the block editor, using one of the methods mentioned previously, you will insert the block editor. Three things will take place, which are: background will change with a different color, most likely with a dark gray. A new conceptual tab called block editor will appear. It includes lots of panels. Block authoring palette will appear, which contains the 4 tabs: parameters, action, parameter sets, and constraints, just like the following: polar, linear, polar, X and Y, right, alignment, flip, visibility, lock up, base point. And that is in the parameters of block authoring palette. You'll see both of the context block editor panels and block authoring palettes in our hunt and to add dynamic features in our block. What are parameters and action? The very simple rule of the created dynamic block. First, name of the parameter due to your block. The assignment of the action to the work on the parameter geometry features of the object forming the block with linear, polar, visibility, lockup, etc. Actions are simulations of the Autocad modifying commands of the move and stretch and scale, etc. You'll find there are some parameters that do not need any actions, and some actions do not need parameters to work on. But the rule of thumb is we need them in this order: parameters first, and then the action second. Autocad, in order to help expedite our work, offers parameter sets, which include the set of parameters with the action in one shot. Both parameters and actions have properties which will very important issue the order to control the outcome of the dynamic block. In Chapter 19, we discussed geometric and dimensional constraints and how they will affect the normal objects. Autocad gives the ability to enhance these constraints inside a block, which will make the interesting thing to watch. How can you utilize the constraints in order to create a dynamic block? Following list is available parameters. Point parameter will add a point definition, so like the stretch and move actions will use line parameters to measure the distance, which can have an angle, but once applied, the user cannot change it. Following actions can act on the parameters move, stretch, scale, and array. Polar parameter, similar to linear parameter, this ability to change the angle. Following actions can activate the parameter move, stretch, polar, stretch, scale, and array. The X and Y parameter help you to define the associated direction. The X and Y direction found with the action can take any act on this parameter, move, sketch, and scale array. Rotate the parameter. You will help with the rotation parameter of the block definition. Rotation action can activate the parameter only. Alignment parameter will help you to have the ability to block and align itself with an existing object if the parameter does not need an action. Flip parameter will existing block move the mirror image using a mirror line. Flip action can attack with the parameter only. Visibility parameter will help you create the visibility state of some of the objects to be visible with others to be invisible. The parameter does not need any action. Lockup parameter will help you create with a table possible values existing parameters. Look up the action and active with the parameter only. Base point parameter will define with a new base for the block. The parameter does not need any action. Following is a list of the available actions. Move the action selected object position to another. You will see the following prompts. Select parameter, select section for action, select object. Scale action will scale selected object. See the following prompt. Select parameter, select selection set of actions, select objects. Stretch action will stretch the selected object with a cross conception. Just like a normal stretch command, you'll see the following. Select parameter, parameter point associated with the action or center of target point. Start point, second, first corner, first, second frame, C polygon. Specify objects express, object. Polar stretch action is equal to stretch action except that it has an angle option. Rotate action has a rotate object, rotate parameter. You'll see the following. Select parameter, select section for action, select objects. Flip action will work on the flip parameter only and will create mirror image of the mirror line created with the flip parameter. You see the following. Select parameter, select section over the action, select object. Array action simulated for the rectangular array and the old array prior to 2012 version. You'll see the following prompts. Select parameter, select selections for the action, select objects, enter the distance between the columns. Lockup action will work only with the lockup parameter. In order to create a table with existing parameters accordingly, it will show the list of them for pick one over the available choices. These for the dialog box will be discussed later. Block property tables will be discussed later. Parameter sets is one step of the job. Autocad wants to help to reduce the steps of the complete work. Hence provided with the parameter set that include both of the parameters actions working on one shot. These two exemptions are for that. The concept of the pairs, which means that there are two actions acting in a single parameter. There's several pairs of the linear and stretch pair, etc. The concept of the box set of linear means there are four actions, one single parameter. Multiple box sets. There are XY stretch box sets, XY array box sets, etc. User will find same set of parameters acting using context tab, block, editor, locating action parameters panel, which looks like the following. Action parameter shows the point, move, and attributed definition. After the finishing adding parameters action, will see something like the following. Alright, shows your action parameters here. There, and if you hover over one of the actions, all parameters acting on will be highlighted along the object selected. In right action, click any action, you'll see the following menu. And now we have delete action, select rename action, show all actions, hide all actions. Use this menu. User can delete the action, change the selection set, rename the action, show hide all action. Current file of the menu have the different options of the different actions. User can control the controlling parameter properties. User control the parameter properties, control the behavior of the block. Once you start to use it, see the properties palette, select the parameter, right click, then select properties option. Something little following will come up. You'll have 3D visualization, and we're looking for the property labeled a distance name, distance description, parameter type. Also value set, distance type, distance value list, and number of grips. When you add a new parameter, Autocad will give it the temporary name, but as the user changes the proper name to do this, locate the property labels, change the distance name, and the example of the linear parameter, just like the following. Another thing, users can control the size, changing the value set. There are three different types. None type of the type that usually the user can input two values with the distance minimum, the distance maximum. The two values can be different. It can be different and can be equal. Increment type, this type means value change due to the distance increment. The user should use input as well as the distance minimum, distance maximum. This type of the type means the value change the list values, which will be input using the small button to the right with three dots inside, which are clicked to you see the next dialog box. See an add distance value, distance added, add, delete, OK, cancel, help. Finally, the user control of the number of the grips appear with the parameter of the default, the number of the parameter linear 2. X and Y is 4. In order to prevent you from scaling and stretching your block from points that you don't want, simply reduce the remove of the grips. Check with the following illustration. Controlling visibility parameter. One of the features for the user added with the dynamic block visibility with the technique of the very simple that you have several objects block with the create with the shape that will show the some of the objects and hide others. The user will create several shapes that the user will block. You will see the list of states to select the side of the block. You'll follow these procedures. Add visibility parameter. This parameter does not need any action. Once you add a visibility panel block, editor context tab will come into life just like the following. Those visibility states. As you can see, Autocad created a visibility state, gave it a temporary name, visibility state 0. Clicking visibility state button to the rename the current visibility state, you'll see the following dialog box: visibility states, set current new rename date, move up and down. Click the rename button, item input name, new name, click OK. Select objects that you want to make visible, click the make visible button on the visibility panel. Select objects you want to make invisible, click the make invisible button, visibility panel. Check with the following 2 panels. Make visible, make invisible. Default hide invisibility objects 100%. They can choose to show them transparency degrees using visibility mode and show the line over the visibility and invisibility visibility mode. Creating another visibility state, check the visibility state button. Clicking on the new button, you'll see the following dialog box: new visibility state name, options, hide all and show all. Leave visibility existing objects unchanged in new state. Type type name of the new state. Select one of the choices available. Just select the hide and show all objects or keep objects. Current visibility settings. OK. Change the visibility of the objects you can wish. Create another state and so on. Testing your settings using the listing panel, just like the following. Alright, you open up lockup using lockup parameter in action. Lockup parameter action, you display all different sides of the block and simple lift with approach will fully control output over the block. Because you've limited the choice of the user list, you should add the parameter set with the grip value condition. The last change thing would be adding lockup parameter lockup with action. You can add both one shot with the bolt parameter setting. After adding parameter action, do the following set. Right click the action icon to show the following menu. Delete action selection, set display lockup table, rename action, show and hide all, and show and hide all actions. Select the display lookup table, and you'll see the following: a property lookup table. To add the parameters you want to show with the list of the add properties button, you'll see the following dialog box. You'll see the parameter properties of the X, Y distance. Add input and lookup properties. So select the desired property. You can control key to select the multiple parameters, then click OK to end the adding process. This part of the dialog box will change to the following: input X, Y distance. Start with the different value of the window width, then go surrounding window height of the right table to input with the text that should appear with the user, something like size 1, size 2, etc. This is what you will have at the end. Final product will have something the following, and it shows the window 3 foot by 1/16, and it gives you different. Alright, 28 final steps. Once you're done with adding the features, you have the outmost panel to the left, the outmost panel to the right, the one left of the open and save panel, which looks like the following: edit block, save block, test block, open, save. This panel save the block with the current edition. Test the block without going out over the block editor. Edit another block, expand the panel. You'll see the button as save it as block under another name. Second panel as at the rightmost panel which looks like the following: close block editor. Alright, to finish the block editor command, the user should click on only the button with the panel with the close block editor button. If the user doesn't save the change, Autocad will show the warning message: save the discard changes made, and then it goes into a practice and another practice. Practice again. Using constraints and dynamic blocks. In block editor, the user will replace parameter the action geometrical dimensional constraint. This will make the user's life easier with a completed step. Cut the time of the produce of the dynamic block. Geometrical dimensional constraint for creating the dynamic block. Same thing, even the ordinary objects used. The thinking of the geometrical dimensional constraints are meant to be for blocks rather than ordinary objects. We're not saying that the user should dump parameters and actions. We think that the user will see more power with using controlling geometrical dimensional constraints. It is important to mention that there are some parameters like visibility and some of the actions like array that can be replaced with the geometrical dimensional constraints. Even if the interface is similar to what we learned in Chapter 19, the only three new buttons that are the dimensional panel with the block header, there is a button called block table. In the manage panel with the block header, there is a button called construction. In the manage panel as well with the block header, there is a button called constraint status. Block table button. This button is the replica of the lockup parameter action works with a dimensional constraint, but the feature was added. Another answer is simple. The user cannot use the lockup parameter action dimensional constraint, so we need the feature produce the pop-up list of the selected size, dimension, etc. To use the feature while the block header located with the dimensional panel, click with the block table button. Following prompts will come up. Select the parameter location or palette. Enter the number of the grips, 0 or 1. They will be asked specifically with the proper action for the list of the proper appear. Then you specify the number of the grips to be included. Following dialog box will appear. Block properties tables. Block properties is the mouse match with the row and table. The default value of the properties do not match the table. To add a dimension constraint list of the following button. The following dialog button adds properties which appear for the column in the table. Property, door size, wall thickness, hinge, hinge, opening, name and type. Select the desired dimensional constraint, then click OK. You'll see the following door and opening angle, default when that it does not match. Pick the first field of the first row, select the one available views. To keep input values, you get something like the following block and properties table, the door, and in order of these values to appear over the user should be properties palette with each of the dimension constraint and add a list of the increment. The other two buttons of the top left part of the dialog box are to create for the user parameters you've seen in the following dialog box. New parameter, name, value, type, display relation, properties palette, OK, and cancel and help. Third is an audit block table. It does not contain any errors. You'll see the following message. Blocks no errors found. And Autocad finds any mistakes. Like one of the fields is empty. You'll see something in the following message. Block table error. Alright, construction button. Construction button is an object. You'll see that define the dynamic block you do not want others to see. Inside a block editor located the manage panel, click with the construction button, and that's B construction command line. You'll see the following prompts. See elect object, show all, hide, and select with the desired object. Constraint status button. This button will allow the Autocad to check for the current geometric constraints. The two options are either blue, which means the permanently consistent, partially constrained with the magenta, which means the fully constrained, but this is off the on button. That preferably keep the switch on to the monitor of your block. Most likely, if you add all of the constraints and you still have the blue color, you will need to fix the constraints of the one over the points, which is part of the Autocad requirements. Switch on and off button, on and off this button while the inside of the block editor locate manage panel, select with the constraint status button. Or beacon status mode is the command line. Then it goes into another practice, chapter review answers, chapter 21, block attributes.